Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another movie review. Because Nadia and I are ready to get into our review of the new, highly anticipated film, The Flash, which you can see in theaters June
16th.
16th. Yeah, we got to check out an early screening of this. We got to check out the fan screening in our respective cities. With that being said, since we are dropping this review so early, this is spoiler free because we do want to give you a chance to experience it in the same capacity that we did. But at the same token, I got a little disclaimer to kind of drop on you all as well too, because while we did get to see it early, we were both told that this isn't the final version of the film, and they didn't explain what that meant. I have my thoughts, but I guess more or less the conclusion of that note is we're gonna have to see it again to kind of see what the difference is with that. But with that being said, we will talk about what we like in terms of what we saw thus far, and the things we didn't like and so on. But again, spoiler free for the 2023 movie The Flash, again in theaters June 16th. I was also told too that this was the version that was shown at CinemaCon 2023 this year, which obviously everybody heard that it did very well there. The folks who got to see it even before that, who got to see it at the test screening, also said that it did very well. So there's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of positivity going into this film before we even seen it. With that being said, Nadia, what is just your first? What was your first reaction upon watching the film today? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know your thoughts. We haven't had a chance to kind of talk about our own
Yeah, of
personal
course.
feelings yet, but that's why we're here to do it now for you all. But now that you've seen it now, and with all that has happened, getting us to this point, what is your thoughts?
I mean, I loved it. Honestly, with DC, it's always up in the air. You kind of try to go in without expectations. And this movie's been in development for what, like 5, 6 years? It's been canceled and coming
It's been a
back,
lot.
and then they changed the date, and then
Yeah.
all the Ezra stuff. But we got the movie, and disregarding, not saying forgetting what Ezra has done, keep that aside. But separately, this movie in itself is a must watch. I absolutely loved it, and I will be going back again in IMAX and again and again. I loved it.
That's what's up. Yeah, I typically keep the politics or anybody's personal things outside of my thoughts about a film. But I'd be remiss if I was just blind or ignorant to everything that's been happening with Ezra. And the reason why I'm even bringing that up is because that was a part of would this film come out or what would be done in order to get this film to be released. But again, it tested so good. Even Stephen King tweeted the other day that he saw it and he liked it. So I'm going to say that Ezra's performance in this film may have folks forgetting about what he has been doing or has done in his personal life, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But that's kind of how Hollywood works. When things do good and people make the money, then they figure out a way to make everything that surrounds around it in terms of PR evaporate. But with that being said, now that I got that off my chest, I enjoyed this film. I thought the opening of this film was really fascinating, and I was just on the edge of my seat in terms of just seeing the Flash move around, seeing how at time Dipsy Ezra was as Barry Allen, even though I'm not going to say who's my favorite Barry Allen, but it's very clear that the guy that played Barry Allen for 9 seasons is easily the best. But I'm just going to say shout out to Grant Gutherson. I'm just going to say that I did enjoy Barry and what he brought to the Flash. The opening scene was, again, the opening act of this film was definitely a tone setter for things to come. I think the only things I didn't like about the film is that times it did feel a little confusing. There were some moments I was kind of like, wait, what? But not too much that disengaged me. There was definitely some head scratcher moment. There was definitely some times where the comedy was just a lot. But I just think when it came down to the action, when it came down to the characters, these characters that we love, and honestly, when it comes down to just the fun, the adventure of this film. I think there's a lot of positive in this film that definitely outweighs any bit of the negative or the nitpicking that I may have with it. But overall, I definitely enjoyed this, and I'm definitely interested in seeing what this final product is going to be. That brings me to my next question. Right on that note, what do you think is the difference between what we saw now and what's going to be? Because I've talked to a couple of folks, and I try not to be so influenced by other people's thoughts and theories, because I said I'll bring it here with you. But there's folks saying that there's extra footage in terms of like an extra 10 minutes on the end of the film. There's folks saying that there's potential of different parts of the film, and there's definitely there's different parts that could have added in different sections of the film. There's folks saying that the CG wasn't completed and that could be a thing. But overall, what do you think? Or do you go with my theory and thinking they're just telling us that so that folks can go out there and see it again because of just their optimism in terms of what it is?
It's funny because that's one thing I definitely noticed in terms of the CGI when, oh wait, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but
it's probably a spoiler.
Certain times Barry's face. I'll just say certain times Barry's face when he has the helmet, like his helmet on. Yeah. He kind of looks very CG. Yeah. And it's even I'm trying to be very spoiler free. Okay, I'll just say that there are times where his face looks like PS2 graphic, but aside from that, I would say like overall the graphics were done very well. But I feel like as time goes, if they're gonna definitely edit this for like a theater release, it will be much better because there's no way it looks like that.
Yeah, I've seen test screeners before, and I've definitely seen unfinished products, and this definitely looked very solid. And yes, if I had to go on the limb of the practical reason in terms of this isn't the final product, it definitely would be with the CG. And there were moments in terms of where you can tell a major difference between a practical person and a CGI person. Yeah. And I think that's probably going to be the aspect that they changed to really bring these moments to really make these CGI renderings look as realistic as possible. But I will say, as it was, I wasn't like, oh, this is not good. I was just kind of like, maybe that's just what they're going after.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was going to say, even some of Marvel's finished products didn't even look as good as that. So,
yeah, I just think like, it could have been a look they were going for, or it could have just not been that. But, we'll see. And obviously there's rumors of, in terms of extra footage, there's rumors that there's post-credit scenes. I did not see a post-credit scene. Did you see a post-credit?
Yeah, we were all like, the lights went right on. So they were like, what?
Yeah, so there's rumors that there's post-credit scenes. And I will say the film leaves you on definitely a post-credit scene-ish cliffhanger as well. So, I will say for what it's worth of how the film ended, I'm also really satisfied with the ending of the film that way too. Leaving us to desire for more. But I didn't go over what this film is about, but everybody should have a very strong indication of what this film is about, especially if you've seen the trailer. But it's Barry wanting to go back in time to save his mom from the day that she's murdered. And the day that she's murdered also landed his dad in jail. So he essentially lost both of his parents in the same day. He has discovered that he can run so fast that he can then enter the Speed Force, which we know, but ultimately go back in time in order to change things until he realizes that, that also has his own consequences. So Barry, who's very much developed in his powers and his abilities, is still learning, but is now learning the consequences of time travel. And with that being said, when you talk about time travel, when you talk about alternate universes, when you talk about multiverses, this has this version of it. It's not, I don't think it reinvents the wheel, but we all know in terms of how this stuff works, there's always major consequences with it. And that's how that goes. Now, we do know in this film that we do get a blast from the past one of my favorite Batmans in Michael Keaton, which is still some reason still gets under my skin that this was in the trailer, because this would have been monumentally
Mhm.
big to have saved, but there's no way they would have kept it under wraps. Also, Batman is one of the most marketable superheroes, so like obviously you putting him in there is definitely going to draw. You have Michael Keaton coming in, which is a big name in his own, regardless if he was Batman or not. And I also think that this is a tactic to kind of mitigate, well, Ezra's bad PR move. This absolutely is a knock on the positive side. But we could talk about it because it's not a spoiler because we know he's in the film. But what was just your thoughts and reaction to Michael Keaton stepping back into the suit?
I mean, like we said, that what you were just mentioning, like with Flash, everything with his mom, that's pretty much well-known knowledge if you're a fan of Barry, and that was even kind of in the CW show as well, or any Flash comic. So I wouldn't consider that a spoiler. Same thing going in with Keaton. I think I would have much rather have been surprised with that, but I still think the movie had enough surprises to keep you super entertained. And just seeing Keaton like in his element, like, oh my god, there was a lot of Easter eggs in there, like flashbacks to his film, like in like '89. But he was amazing. He was super entertaining, and he still got it. He's like what, in his 70s,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
still got it. Like he was so believable the way he was moving. Not giving anything away, but like the action sequences were done so well. Like there were parts where he'll like use like the batarang and like come up on somebody. Like it was great. I love
yeah.
seeing Keaton.
Yeah, I've always been a big Michael Keaton fan, and in all of his roles, I still to this day say that Vulture's top three best villains in the MCU that people don't give enough credit to, because it's still Michael Keaton, and without the bias, you know, when you put him in a role, he's going to beast it, and that's what he did. It was just amazing to see him back as Batman. I swear, if that had not been something in the trailers, and that had just been something I seen in the theater, I don't even know how I would have took it. I would
I
not have
was at
been
a
ready
heart
for it.
attack.
I probably had a heart attack. It was crazy. But with that being said, there is so many Easter eggs and nods towards his time as Batman, but period, in terms of DC and DC Comics and DCU and DC Extended Universe, there's tons of Easter eggs and nods circling all around Barry entering the Speed Force and whatnot. I'm going to give one major hint away, but I'm not going to give you that because I'm going to end the review on that note. But with that being said, I always say this when it comes down to talking about the DC Extended Universe, is that I love Man of Steel, and I also did like Batman v Superman, and a lot of what those films did good, they really brought it in this when it came down to the action. The only thing that it lacked was the score, because Hans Zimmer is not messing with these films no more. But nonetheless, I think that, you know, expect a lot of amazing visuals from the Flash and what you expect for the Flash to do. And again, he has really developing his powers. So like, if you really know this character, or even if you just played the game Injustice, which I think is a very good like base point to say like, oh, what can the Flash do? Well, he does everything he does in the game in this. But it is a lot of good solid action. There's a lot of moments that will keep you at the edge of your seat. There's also times that the film is a little brutal, which I really wasn't expecting, you know. But I think that overall across the board, there was just a lot of good moments within the film. And I also want to give a quick nod towards Sasha Calle, who is the Supergirl. Before I even say something about her, I just want to say all the costume designs across the board was fantastic. And while we had seen her as Supergirl, I don't know what it was, but I guess just seeing it in motion in the way we saw it in the film really made me appreciate her time as the Supergirl, the costume, and I did not think I would like that character as much as I did. I guess I was just kind of thinking like, oh, okay, Supergirl's in it, I guess. I don't know. But I was like, I'm actually digging Supergirl. Like, she did a really good job. And I think Sasha, which I instantly thought was an amazing casting decision. But I definitely enjoyed her time. But whether it's Sasha or whether it's Ben Affleck, Who was or Keaton, if you want to circle back to Keaton, who just stood out to you in terms of their performance?
I just want to say, like, the haters are gonna talk, but you have to give Snyder his props because there's a lot of Snyder influence in this. Even mentioning like Injustice, a lot of that was in BVS, a lot of that was in Man of Steel. Even Michael Shannon was like, I need to talk to Snyder, make sure this is okay. Like, I love that respect thing because there's a lot of influence in this. People are going to deny it, but there's a lot of influence in this. And I think everyone stood out, even like paying homage to DC in general. I think this movie showed a lot of respect, and like not just to Snyder, but like we were talking about with Keaton and Batman '89, and like without giving anything else away, it just felt like, I don't know, like a great kind of send off for the universe for whatever direction Gunn is going to bring in now. This felt like a perfect way of like closure. Like, yeah. I'm not over Henry Cavill not being in the DC, but I feel like this is like, all right, we're in a new place. We need to like let it go and move on. But this was like a proper send off. And even Sasha like stood out to me because once again, like she was like a dark Kara. And I like that because I don't really like when Kara's too like preppy and happy. Like in this story, it makes sense. Like she hasn't been around human beings. So why would she be so jolly and preppy and happy? Like this was like, not to say like emo, but like it worked for this universe. And I loved her performance. She's believable. She was badass.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't agree that this was like a good send off because I think there's still a lot of optimism again in terms of like, do they want to build off of the Flash? Is Ezra Miller going to be part of James Gunn's plan? He's been radio silence about that, and I think that depending on what this does in the box office determines if what his future is going to be. Obviously, with the Flash and doing Flashpoint, that means that there's obviously a lot of different ways you can go in terms of resetting or different entry points of this character. There's a lot you can do with it, but I don't think it's necessarily a send-off because it still feels like there may be a little breath of fresh air to still want to do something with Ezra, who still exists in the original, squad. But could he be part of James Gunn's plan? And does that invite future possibilities with some of these folks? I feel you. We do need to move on, but this movie makes you not. I think we just.
I don't want to let go.
Right. I don't want to spoil anything, but again, the beginning act of this film is like, oh, this is the future. This is what we could be doing, But obviously, James Gunn's in charge now, and James Gunn, with a good outing for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, made me kind of have a little bit more confidence in terms of the James Gunn I've liked before. But when you kind of just blow up the board and you start over, it's kind of like, But anyway, just to kind of move this towards an ending point here with the review, I definitely want to give another nod to a character that I enjoyed that I wish we had a lot more of, and that's Iris West by Kiersey Clemons, who I love. I think she's fantastic, and I think she has such great charisma, and I felt like we were completely gypped of seeing her and Ezra really show their dynamics together, because everything that we know Ezra to be in Barry is Kiersey as herself. So to kind of see that sort of like wittiness between the two of them was literally like are we going to get that? Are we going to move towards that? But this was a little bit of their early like familiarity to themselves. So they haven't really able to like really unwind to one another, which I just, but with that being said, there's some comedy in it. When it comes down to Barry versus Barry and Barry, shall I say, because we do know that Barry meets his counterpart from another point of his life. It worked, I guess. I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Oh, since you said that, then I'll say my little tidbit. I was gonna say the Parent Trap absolutely nailed.
Yeah,
the face and the face. So I was like, why is this so weird? But I'm praying with whatever edits they do, they fix that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't buying it. And I guess because I felt like it was such a deterrent from everything that the beginning really gave us, that it was like, oh, okay. down this whole nother path or something. I don't know, but yeah, sometimes it was just a little too much. But sometimes I was like, okay. Last one thing I want to say is, while Hans Zimmer did not score this film, I did love, who I do not know who was the composer for this, which I probably should look up really quick. I did love the score for this, because what the score did in this was truly paying homage to the classic themes and added its own new rendition, which I'm going to say, well, you know, the classic Batman theme. Oh, they hit that. And there's some other heroes that has their own very uniquely easily identifiable themes, and you hear sprinkles of that. And I love how they were just able to really bring it all together. And I just looked it up. Music by Benjamin Wallfish. I think that how they added these special renditions for these characters, I thought was really cool. I definitely want to get out to that. So that's all I'm gonna say, besides my very last thing, which I'll give you a moment of anything else you want to share about the film. Spoiler free.
Andy Muschietti, did I say that correctly?
Yeah, the director.
I kind of want to see maybe what he would do with the Justice League, to be honest, if they go further. Yeah. I think he had a great balance of like darkness and humor, because I love Gunn, but I'm just waiting to see like how he's gonna handle like something serious. So I'm almost like, I feel like Andy could nail this from what we've seen with this movie. I think he could totally nail the Justice League, to have like the balance. Like Snyder, I have like a love-hate. Like sometimes I love him. Like Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic movies ever, but I do understand that that's not for everyone. So I feel like going further with the Justice League, Andy had a perfect balance with darkness and humor that was funny.
Yeah.
Like that it worked.
Andy has a background of horror. Mama, It Chapter 2. I think he comes in this and he absolutely creates a fantastic balance of what he is known for and the traits he's used in those films, and really did put together a really dope superhero film. It's hard to say anything negative about it. But again, I think the film has a lot going on. It may be sometimes hard for you to kind of wrap your head around it. And it's because like when you're dealing with time and you're dealing with timelines and the interception of these timelines, it does really become at a point of just saying like, huh? And the reason why it is difficult is because Barry isn't learning his lessons. So it's hard for you to be practical about like what he should do. I mean, it's the commentary you have as a viewer is like, hey man, don't do that. Or wait, should you do that? Or like, wait, I think I would have did that. It's like a lot, and it comes at you really, really, really quick. So with that
being, Multiverse of Madness better than Multiverse of Madness.
I'm not going to say. I ain't going to go that far. I'm going to say that. They're just different, you know. And again, I couldn't even make a statement like that and actually be confident in saying that, because there was just so much happening in this. It's hard to know like what to compare in terms of like their theory of time travel versus their theory of time travel and multiverses and whatnot. I think they both brought something unique, but again, I just think like these constant, like, you know, different things happening at some point, just like, wait, this is a lot. With that being said, though, there is some fun things with multiverses. There's things that we kind of take for granted in terms of like things we know. I'll give you just a small hint, but like, you know, when you see a movie, like any movie, if I say Space Jam, you're gonna say, oh, that's Michael Jordan, that's his movie, or LeBron James. Yeah. Now, if you went to another universe, that may not be the thing.
It'll be Scottie Pippen.
It'll be Scottie Pippen. Like, there's a lot of those little things kind of happening in the film, which is definitely funny, gives you a laugh, and I think that makes it enjoyable for all ages. But I'm closing out the review with this last statement. And before I say this, I'm going to say, check out The Flash again, folks. It's June 16th. We'll definitely have a talk about this again. I think we both need to see it again to ensure what the final product does look like. So it's hard to be overly critical about the visuals, which I did enjoy the visuals, but they could possibly end up being better. Or is there more story to be told? Because there could be additional footage, and there may be in credit scenes that we may need to talk about as well too. But
that
with that being,
cliffhanger.
yeah, the cliffhanger was dope. I'm going to give that. The cliffhanger was dope, and it definitely leaves you like, But the last thing I'm gonna say, folks, and you all get in the comments, let us know your thoughts about the Flash. If you got to see it at the fan screening around in your respective cities, 25 cities got to see it tonight, and we got to see it in 2 of those 25 cities. Let us know your thoughts about it. Keep it spoiler free. I will delete your comments because we do not want to spoil it for the other folks who did not get a chance to do it. With that being said, for my fans who love all of the DC content that's out right now, as we know, we just recently had to say goodbye to a lot of different shows. Arrowverse is gone. And when I say Arrowverse, just not everything that was on the CW, but everything that was also on HBO Max and or formerly of DC Universe. If you did watch the last season of the Titans, Beast Boy had a hell of an adventure in one of those last episodes, as we know that Grant Gustin said, I didn't know I was in that episode of Titans, and it was a funny thing. So if you can watch Titans, it's on HBO Max, so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to say this, folks. The Flash does that scene with the A-tier version of it, and it is the most, I think it's got to be the most biggest eye-opening, jaw-dropping moment of Easter eggs and cameos and all sorts of different things that happen so quickly. It's going to have you either clapping or excited or just jumping. It's very, 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 very cool. There's a super cool moment in this film. When I say super, I mean super cool moment in it. And as I mentioned, it is like what Beast Boy went through in Titans, except it's the A-tier version of it. And so that's all I'm gonna say. Y'all come back for our full-blown review, because I think we'll do another review when we see what the final product is going to be, talk about it then we'll get around to spoiler review once the film drops, because I don't want to spoil it for you all. But hey, get in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it. Thank you so much for checking us out, and we'll see you back very soon for more content here. Thank you so much, folks.